Well, welcome into the 5th edition of the Weather Hangout. How's everybody doing this
Hard
week?
to believe it's already number 5, but we are in the peak of fall foliage season. We got the nice leaves behind us and lots to get to today.
Exactly. I mean, have y'all noticed it's a little bit warmer outside than, for me, I like it kind of colder now. Especially I've been up here 10 months and I'm saying I actually like it colder.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you like the hoodie weather, Matt.
No, see, I don't miss a warm day at all. When it was like these 70s that we've had lately, I've been soaking it in because I know my cold days.
It's nice though because we don't have that humidity this time of year. We get the nice warmth, but we get to enjoy it without the mugginess.
Yeah, that's exactly how I like it.
Yeah.
And Matt, we do your checklist, but that's coming up later.
Yeah, we're coming up later.
Okay, so stay tuned for that if you want to see the progress.
If you've been following along to the saga of Matt Willoughby does Midwest fall.
We'll see if I checked any check marks off that list.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. We'll see the progress.
Yeah.
What else do we have coming our way today?
Yeah, so I think we have a special guest coming up for today, Miss Kaylee Marientet.
Yep. Going to be talking about the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, obviously something she witnessed firsthand and really hit close to home. And we've been following along on WTOL 11 all week long, so it'll be good to get some insights into exactly what the hurricane did and the effects that it continues to have. We talk a lot about that aftermath, Matt, about how it's not just 1 week or 2 weeks, but this takes months and years for many communities to rebuild.
Exactly, yeah.
And you've been there for the aftermath, of course, going through there. Have you ever been for recovery? I know I haven't, so.
No, I haven't. It's one thing to, see it in person and to see those impacts, and another thing to just see pictures and videos. So.
Yeah, so definitely interested to hear about Kaylee's experience, as I haven't been down there. Of course, this will hit a little bit closer to home as well for you. So that'll be interesting to see what she saw, what it was like.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of us, we see on the news or where we cover it, and then the storm goes on, and then we do nothing with it. So I'm happy that we're able to kind of continue to follow up on this because the work there in Florida does continue.
Very much ongoing for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and especially like you said, I've been through it, and it's a different feel. Like it's a heavy feel to just see all the aftermath and just start from the beginning and just try to clean up where all the devastation and destruction has pretty much passed through.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, lots to get to today. I know we've got some cool weather videos to react to. Is that where we're going to start, Matt?
Yeah, so we'll have those at the end as well. So yeah, we'll have some pretty cool weather videos, some interesting ones this week.
Yeah,
so
looking forward to those.
Hopefully you're excited for those. But yeah, we'll have that at the end. But before we get into our talk with Kaylee, see if you see this weather fun fact for you.
Amazing, just 2 miles an hour shy. What a powerful hurricane for sure.
Yeah, it was just to see all, like, as it was happening, it was just insane to see it, like, as the Hurricane Ian made landfall, just all the death and destruction that went through some of the storm surge as well. But of course, we're here to talk about the aftermath of it. And
welcome, Kaylee, to the show.
Yeah. Now, Kaylee, you said that you have family down there, so kind of connect us, for those who haven't been following, what are your ties to Florida and Hurricane Ian?
Sure. So my grandma lives in Fort Myers Beach, and she's had a house there for about 30 years. So she's been through Wilma and Andrew and, all of them. And, nothing has really happened, maybe some shingles missing. So when we heard about Ian coming, she thankfully had a friend's house more inland in Fort Myers that she could stay at. So she wasn't at the house, but we got a call from her that, she had 4 feet of sewage water in her home. Siding missing, everything in between, windows busted out. So we went down there. My mom and I drove down there last Sunday to go help her and get what we could and get her to stay with family and have somewhere stable to stay. So I saw everything firsthand.
Yeah, and so that's something that many of our viewers have been following along with every day, and we really commend you on your effort in going down there and really having a hand in the aftermath and the cleanup. 4 feet of water. That was likely due to the storm surge. That's one of the biggest impacts of Ian, for sure.
Yes, we didn't even really, a lot of the people that I spoke to down there said it wasn't the rain. it was the wind bringing in that water. And my grandma is right on a canal. That picture is actually from in her neighborhood. So being on that canal, that's next to my grandma's neighborhood. That's what the water looked like. That was an antique shop next to her community. So it was a lot to take in, but yeah, you know, I spoke to somebody that actually survived the hurricane on just a little dinghy, and he said the water got into his mouth, and he was like, "Oh gosh, that's salty. That's the Gulf. That's not rain coming in. This is ocean water coming in." So it flooded everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And you also mentioned that there was sewage. So how is the infrastructure there?
Smelly, to say the least. It was bad. So some of the areas in her home, you know, some of the water lines you could see were up to my knees. The water was already gone when I got there.
But the water line.
Yes, but the water line was there, and we could see where it was, and you know, things were already starting to mold. You know, the walls were starting to crack. I started, and I started tearing up the carpet, and it just, you know, you don't realize like how fast a home deteriorates after something like that, but it's fast.
And I think it's easy for us to forget that there's no air conditioning. There's nothing to really provide any sort of aid once the storm has actually been done.
And that's one of the things I remember as I've done cleanup before is the aftermath of hurricane season and some of the warmest months. So not only do you have to worry about the aftermath but the heat of cleaning up. So was it hot down there kind of?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So it was hot. I think it reached 93 one day. And you think about Florida humidity on top of that. And
super humid.
Heavy. And we were, you know, I was trucking out couches and stuff. So you add like all that labor into the heat.
It's exhausting. I'm exhausting.
And then, so my grandma's subdivision got power Thursday night, so we were able to plug in some fans, but we had, you know, the park manager say, like, don't turn your air conditioning on yet. We don't know. There was an electrical fire in the neighborhood, so we just stayed away from that, but it was hot.
So I think it's one thing for us as meteorologists to talk about the science behind it, you know, how many miles an hour, how many feet of storm surge, but the impacts are really one of the best ways of measuring this. You said your grandma's been down there for several decades now. What differentiates Ian? And in her opinion, was Ian the worst storm that she's lived through?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Without a doubt. And everyone that I spoke to that has been, you know, lifelong Florida residents there and been in Fort Myers, by far, hands down the worst. I have a friend that's in the Panhandle that went through Michael. And you know, that was bad for him. And he said Ian didn't even compare. Like Ian was a whole different ball game. That's what I heard a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. Now you said that your grandma was further inland, but when you were there, obviously you couldn't stay at her house. So where were everybody who was providing aid and coming in? How far inland did you have to stay? Because I'm sure the hotels were full or had damage. So kind of explain how that part of the cleanup works.
Sure. So a lot of the hotels were booked or out of power or just down. So we actually stayed. We have a producer here that she produces mornings, and her grandpa lives in North Fort Myers. So we stayed there actually for a few days. So that was very nice.
Connection,
Yes, that was nice of her. And then my grandma's friend that she stayed with during the hurricane, we stayed there a couple nights. But thankfully there were a lot of organizations coming into my grandma's neighborhood because it was hit so hard. That were, you know, giving us food and trying to find ice, which was impossible to find, and you know, bringing those resources to us instead of everyone having to go to them.
Yeah, exactly, and that's one of the things, kind of bringing in more things. I've looked at the geography down there, and like Fort Myers is there, but also you have the Everglades right there. So there's not too many cities that are close by that they're close to go by, or even to stay in hotels with as well. So I bet that was kind of rough to get those resources coming in at a short range.
I remember in one of your video updates, there was a helicopter that you zoomed in on. Was that relief that was getting flown in to help Fort Myers in that area?
We think so. The National Guard was set up in a lot of places around Fort Myers Beach and had a lot of places blocked off. But that was a constant sound that I will never forget, is just helicopters going over constantly. And then, I turned, and there was one carrying this big shipping crate, and I don't know where it went to or what I would imagine some sort of supplies going somewhere, maybe to Sanibel, but
Now, when you were going, you said, hey, Diane, I'm going down there. And so we were talking about it a little bit. And I have never been, but obviously I've talked to other folks who have. Was the advice that I've given you as far as like you won't have running water, like your supplies will be limited, was that actually true from what people had said? I hope that I didn't lead you astray.
No, you did. What your advice was to me was accurate, but I also think that it was worse than what we expected.
Okay.
Because, you know, we couldn't find ice anywhere, so we couldn't keep anything cold. I think I had like 7 peanut butter and jellies during the week. So just because we couldn't refrigerate anything, we have no power, we couldn't cook anything, you know. So we weren't prepared for just, you know, how limited resources would be. But yeah, the running water being, you know, not there, not having any power, it was rough. But you know, we were some of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Considering all of that.
Yeah.
So even going forward, a lot of folks that I've heard, you know, oh, I have family, I have friends down there, and the insurance aspect of it, is it okay if we talk about that?
Yes, it's a headache, but
Okay, yeah, and that's what Matt was saying, that was a headache for him.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Some residents in Baton Rouge I've seen over the years, like you have to have flood insurance for some. If you don't have flood insurance, sometimes your house is not covered.
Yep.
If it does in fact flood. So I was wondering how does that work with Hurricane Ian and your grandmother's house and everything?
Sure. So my grandma is on a canal, and she's got a seawall, and she's 11 feet above the water, with 4 feet of water in her house. So it means that she got 15 feet of water. So she didn't have flood insurance, but they said since it was sewage that was in her home, it wouldn't have even have covered anyway. But she has wind and hurricane insurance. So what they said might be the saving grace here is that wind is what brought in the water.
Wow.
So because she has wind insurance, it could cover. It doesn't, it's very, very complicated. And an insurance adjuster actually might be at my grandma's house right now. They were supposed to come today. So we're gonna have a little bit more insight of, well, you know, what money we could get covered, if the house is even salvageable. We're not sure yet right now.
Yeah, looking at that video, so many of those houses were not salvageable.
Yes.
15 feet of water, hard to imagine.
Yeah, it was, and it was so unreal. And that was on my grandma's street right there, that photo. There was just boats in yards, and it was a lot to process. So that also was, I think that was on Pine Island, about 15 minutes from my grandma's house right there. So yeah, insurance.
A pain.
Pain. Yeah. So there's a lot of cleanup, a lot of different processes in order to get where you want to go in this recovery. So of course it's going to be a long journey, but slowly but surely we'll get back to her help. And speaking of that, does she plan on staying in the Fort Myers area? Do you think she'll relocate?
We're not sure. So she's staying with my aunt in Vegas right now, and we're not sure. She wants to stay in Fort Myers. She's 89 and she's kicking, and you know, she's in great health, and she lives alone there. So we want to get her back here because that's where she wants to be. But how long is it going to take to get housing down there? Or material is going to be hard to find. So right now it's just kind of in limbo, and that's what's hard.
Yeah.
That is hard. What are some of the final takeaways from your experience? What would you want to share with, of course, our viewers, even us as meteorologists? What did you learn? What are the biggest takeaways? Just kind of tell us everything that you know now.
Sure. So it's, you know, I had a 20-hour drive back.
20 hours, man.
And I just thought about what I had seen, and some of the devastation it doesn't feel real sometimes, like just how bad that things are. And, you know, the devastation is more than we even know.
Yeah.
And you know what I saw, I didn't even see half of it at all.
Yeah.
A third of it. I didn't see any of it at all. But what I took away is that you know, we were lucky. We were some of the lucky ones, and just be grateful for what you have, because you never know when something is just going to be taken away from you.
Yeah.
You know, Fort Myers had dodged so many bullets with so many hurricanes, and in an instant it can be gone. And I'm thankful that my grandma is still here and I still have her, but a lot of families, you know, did lose loved ones. So it sounds sappy, but just hold your loved ones close, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, we are all pulling for you and rooting for your grandma, and best wishes. And it's been amazing to hear your story, that firsthand account. And everyone who watches WTOL 11 has been following along, and really good to have a conversation here and get a little more in depth to it. So.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you letting me come and talk to you
about
it. I could talk for days about this.
You're our first guest, so.
Yeah, we'll have you on again. So make sure you have notes for the next time.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
All right, well, of course, as we wrap up this segment, we have another fun fact, and make sure you still come back. We still have a few more interesting videos that'll probably grab your attention.
So yeah, as we wrap up, of course, we always like to do one of our favorite parts about our weather hangout is the video reaction. And we got some crazy ones this week. I can't lie to you. This first,
last week's hard to top.
So this first one is a sandstorm in Southern California. We're pretty much turned the sky orange, and it forced drivers to pretty much go to a standstill. No serious injuries, of course, but wow. If you were in this, like, what would you honestly do? Of course, like, try to just ride it out, but man, it's...
I mean, during winter storms, we have whiteout conditions where we can't see the car in front of us, but imagine sand instead of snow.
Yeah.
You can barely see the headlights there, and traffic's at a standstill. Crazy.
I don't think I've been, thankfully, in snow as bad as that. I've had some, situations, but that looks even worse. I can't even imagine. I guess you just, sit and wait.
Ride it out.
I've heard that they're pretty, fast as they go through, but when you're in the moment, it probably feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, this second video, is it too soon to be talking about snow just yet?
Oh, come on.
Yes, it's too soon.
Well,
The National Weather Service Gaylord just trolling us here, but they posted a video of our first snowflakes of the season. This is late last week. We had a strong cold front that moved through. We got a dose of that chilly air, but up in north central Michigan, they had some flakes. And of course, they had to turn it in slow-mo, so it looks like those big old Christmas flakes, but really, really pretty to see outside the NWS office. Little soon for my taste, but to each their own.
Did you see some of the pictures and videos coming out of the UP where it actually stuck to the
Yes.
ground?
Oh.
I
I don't think I'm ready for that bad part. I'll take some snowflakes, but as somebody from
We
down
still got
south,
the leaves changing. We're gonna enjoy fall first.
yeah, I'm gonna keep what we have and hold off on that snow.
I'm with you.
Ooh, oh, all right, well, our third video, this is gonna be Hurricane Julia that hit Nicaragua on a Sunday. Winds of 85 miles per hour and the storm surge all along with this storm. So we're going to be keeping an eye to that. Of course, you can see there some of our water vapor there, the imagery. So where you see the green, that's kind of where we have more moisture. That yellow, that's where we have some of that drier air. So definitely seeing that storm starting to brew. But yeah, the tropics still going. Actually, hurricane season goes through November.
Yep.
So we are not
Still
done.
got
Keeping
a
an
couple
eye on
months
the
left.
tropics.
Yes.
Satellite imagery is just fascinating, and it's hard to believe that Ian was almost twice as powerful as that in terms of the wind speeds with that well-defined eye, and it is mesmerizing to look at, from outer space, but another thing to see the actual impacts in person.
Exactly. And then this last one we have, as we've noticed, there's been some droughts across the Midwest, but especially into the Mississippi River, where they've seen record lows. And I've even seen some ships not even been able to get up the Mississippi. I remember we talked about this about a few weeks ago, called the Viking, which is a new cruise ship that goes up the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
They had to cancel that because the Mississippi, parts of the Mississippi River dried up. Yeah, there's no water.
And some of these ships and barges have actually gotten stuck in that sandy mud.
Wow.
Yeah, that doesn't even look like the river there. That's
Exactly.
more like it there.
Yeah, but even you can see those water lines.
Water levels are low, yeah.
Yeah, where they should be, where the water isn't. And of course, that's even going to affect agriculture here because, of course, in Mississippi, that's running a lot of corn, soybeans. And
Yeah, we are also interconnected, and those waterways are a vital way of shipment and transportation. So something you take for granted, but without that water, we're kind of tough out of luck.
Yeah, so I know that we're going to be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
I was looking even at some of the data that it's been over 120 days, if not more, that some cities there in the Midwest or along the Mississippi for the last 6 months have reported 0 in the wind gauge.
Yeah.
So that's
We've been a little dry here, but not quite that extreme.
Yeah, I don't want that extreme.
No, not that
Not
much.
at all.
Not that much.
Okay, so the checklist, Matt. Okay, how's that checklist going? Last time we looked, you had.
What's that reaction?
Let's
You
see
had
the
one.
check.
You had one on
Let's see if we
there.
can pull up the checklist real
Hopefully
quick.
we can. Oh.
So-
There it is. So, yep, we'll zoom on out here and get a look. So, yep, you had the one high school football.
Yeah.
It looks like more of a list than a checklist. Not too much checked off.
I was just gonna say I don't see
Okay.
any new green checks here, Matt.
Okay.
What's going on?
Look, it was a kind of chill weekend, but this weekend, we are getting at least 3 things checked off.
Okay.
So, pump the brakes. We'll get to it eventually,
Yeah.
I promise. This week, you will see me apple picking, cider mill, even maybe
That's
in
just
the
waiting for the peak of fall colors, really to enjoy, get the best out of your experience,
Yeah, because we do have the fall color on here. So, yeah, I'll give you a little bit of a break on that one. You gotta wait for the peak color.
I promise I'll get it done.
Well, you're not the only procrastinator. I understand.
Yeah, I still, even on my own, I did the cider mill, the apple picking. I haven't quite done high school football. I've done like marching band.
Oh,
though.
well, you ran out of time with the high school.
So, it was a cool fall night. Fall colors, waiting on that one.
Waiting on that, yeah.
Corn maze is on the to-do list and the pumpkin patch. So I guess I shouldn't tease you too much. I might be close to you. How's your fall checklist, John?
My checklist probably is not going to get done, honestly. I've been drinking a lot. I've been drinking a ton of apple cider from McQueen's
Oh, yeah, I
Orchard.
saw your picture, yeah.
Yeah, that's always the good stuff. And of course, taking photos of the fall foliage, one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
And we are in some spots less than a week away from the peak color, so enjoying that. But Matt and I both have some to do.
We got some things to do.
Got the to-do list this weekend.
You've been at a lot of the metro parks. How's the color looking there?
It's looking great, and it's actually interesting what a few miles makes a difference. Wildwood is closer to the Michigan-Ohio state line, and they're closer to peak fall foliage. But if you go further south, say like Farnsworth, which is along the river, not quite as much color, and there's about a 15-mile difference there, but it makes a difference, and that's why there's a difference between like southern Michigan and even southern Ohio, where we're seeing those colors come to life.
Yeah, well, thanks for the report. I know that you've been out there and a good eye on it. That's just the best thing.
Just looking so beautiful. I love this time of year in the Midwest. Doesn't get any better.
Yep, and we'll have actually a deep dive into more fall foliage and what we can expect, or when we can expect the peak coming up in our next episode of Weather Hangout.
And this is number 5.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see you then. We'll be talking about fall color and hopefully seeing some too.
Yep.
We'll see you then.
Take
Bye.
care.